Did you know Jamaica was the first British colony to have an established post office? The first post office was built in the then capital San Diego de la Vega, now known as Spanish Town. And today the island has a network of almost 600 post offices and postal agencies. The transformation of communication services provided by the post offices continues through a partnership between the Post and Telecommunications Department and the Postal Corporation of Jamaica. As we join in the celebration of World Post Day 2017, you can expand your knowledge about the sector by visiting jamaicapost.gov.jm.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, October 9. The revised National Youth Policy will be tabled shortly in Parliament as a white paper. The policy paper, which was recently approved by Cabinet, establishes the framework within which young people can be supported to pursue and achieve their goals.
It has outlined and explored areas for action and indicated 6 priority areas, namely education and training, health and well-being, employment and entrepreneurship, youth participation, social inclusion and reintegration, and institutional and youth sector arrangements.
The Information Minister made the announcement during last week's post-Cabinet media briefing. He revealed that Cabinet had also reviewed and approved amendments to the Poor Relief Act. Changes include the abolition of the Board of Supervision and the transfer of its functions to the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development.
It also proved for us to introduce new concepts and tenets that reflect modern human services management approach to poor relief.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness says his administration is not daunted by the 0.1% contraction in the economy for the first quarter of the 2017-2018 financial year. Instead, he says, government is redoubling its efforts and focusing all its energies behind growing the economy and providing jobs. The Prime Minister points out that the contraction largely reflects the impact of flood rains on the agriculture sector in April and May of this year. He says that to limit the effect, his administration is intent on diversifying the economy to include logistics operations.
Jamaica must never lose its ambitiousness. That is what defines us, our ability to reach further than we can stretch, to speak louder than our voice.
Energy Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley says government is taking steps to position Jamaica as the regional hub for natural gas, which will ignite prospects in bunkering, shipping and logistics.
And so it's not about a monopoly. We want to ensure that we open Jamaica for investment. And it's a competitive environment that we are developing here in Jamaica.
To that end, the minister is urging private entities to be on the lookout for emerging possibilities within the country. He says the administration is open to discussions with interested persons about obtaining licensing and permits to deliver services within Jamaica.
We are looking forward to the creation of a robust, competitive gas industry that will attract investments, create jobs, and spur economic growth.
Minister Wheatley was speaking at the recent opening of Jamaica's inaugural Natural Gas Conference. He also encouraged tertiary institutions to develop expertise and modify curricula in order to adequately service the industry with local talent. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton is calling on the food industry to provide healthy options as he urges more Jamaicans to adopt good eating habits.
People are going to make choices that are not just about what's good for them, but in making those choices, they're going to demand options that the market must respond to.
Dr. Tufton was speaking during a recent tour of Rainforest Seafood's facility. He complimented Rainforest and other industry players for their efforts in providing healthy food options for the population. Meanwhile, the Education Ministry has signed a Memorandum of Understanding with Nestle Jamaica Limited to aid with healthy eating habits among children. This MOU will allow for the sharing of best practices and efficient use of resources. Education Minister Senator Ruel Reid says it comes at a time when the ministry is working on the rollout of a comprehensive nutrition policy.
This is against the background of us trying to ensure that we instill a culture of wellness which embedded on the foundation of good nutritional habits and practices, both in terms of the meals that we prepare for our students within our schools, as well as empowering them as young people, how they can have that as a lifestyle at home.
The partnership will facilitate stress management sessions, portion control training for school canteen staff, and targeted Healthy Kids signage to be installed in schools. And finally, the Ministry of Education is reporting that its non-compulsory contribution fee policy for high schools has received considerable support from parents. At a recent press conference, Portfolio Minister Senator Ruel Reid said compliance was at 63%, a vast improvement from 49% in 2016. While attributing the compliance rate to its media campaign, Minister Reid urged parents and other stakeholders to continue working with government to give students the best available educational opportunities.
And we're looking forward, therefore, to continue to see how together we can work to make sure that the workforce that we have in Jamaica is well trained and certified, agile, and responsive to the imperatives of the market as we seek to attract high levels of investment into Jamaica.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Catch up on the latest news stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister this past week next.
It is truly a good day today to officially open the new Marcus Garvey Drive. I want to reassure the people of Montego Bay that I am right behind the bypass to get it done. So whatever you do, use those roads carefully, safely, and securely.
You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Lorraine Mendez. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has reiterated government's strategic plan of prioritizing roadways that have the potential of increasing economic growth and job creation. The latest infrastructure development came Thursday as he opened the upgraded 6-lane Marcus Garvey Drive.
Over 40,000 motorists who use this roadway on a daily basis can now finally say, good road, good road, good road.
While highlighting Marcus Garvey Drive as a feeder for the island's major industrial estate, Mr. Holness unveiled government's plans for generating employment in the shipping, logistics and manufacturing enterprises that operated along the roadway. The Prime Minister said other roadways were being targeted to reduce productivity loss through greater traffic management. Among them, the Mandela Highway Improvement Project, which was extended at a cost of $68 million. Mr. Holness said work was also on track for the December delivery of the Barbican roadway, which carries over 26,000 motorists on a daily basis. Plans are also being developed and lands acquired for the improvement of the Hagley Park and Constant Spring roadways, as well as the Ferris to Macfield roadway in Westmoreland.
When we do all of these improvements, I am certain that you're going to see an increase in our growth rate.
Improving the road infrastructure was also a focus for Prime Minister Andrew Holness when he visited the second city on Wednesday. He was there to celebrate ITEL BPO Smart Solutions' 5th year of operation at the Montego Bay Freeport. While committing to address the BPO sector's labor constraints through the HOPE program, Mr. Holness said government would also be resolving productivity loss with the construction of a bypass.
We don't want to make an error, so we are now in the process of doing all the studies. They have done the traffic count, we're doing designs to see where's the best place to get the alignment for the bypass.
Prime Minister Holness also assigned Minister Vaz to oversee the fixing of the drainage issue in Montego Bay.
We almost floated off before we got here because the drainage is clearly an issue. That's a short-term, immediate capital expenditure. That's between the NWA and the Parish Council to resolve. I'm urging motorists to drive with caution, maintain the speed limits. The roads have enough lanes to get you where you're going without the need for speed.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness's plea to motorists last week. He said government was increasing its investment in traffic signals and devices to improve traffic management and save lives. Saving lives was still on the agenda Friday. This time, however, it was through the provision of improved medical services to persons served by the St. Anne's Bay Regional Hospital. The hospital now has an additional ambulance and an expanded male surgical ward and operating theatre. The operating theatre was expanded at a cost of $170 million from the National Health Fund. American Friends of Jamaica undertook a $17 million renovation of the male surgical ward. And the $9.5 million ambulance was purchased and retrofitted through a partnership between Tankweld and Guardian Life Foundation. While endorsing philanthropy in the health sector, Prime Minister Andrew Holness pledged $1 million from his Positive Jamaica Foundation towards the purchase and installation of a central air conditioning unit for the male surgical ward. Mr. Holness also used the occasion to reiterate his government's commitment to the free access to healthcare policy. He said its long-term success would be driven by initiatives such as the introduction of the National Health Fund.
Minister Tufton and his team are working very hard at that, and I am to receive the first report on the framework, Minister. When will we get this? By March, almost the end of the financial year, we will have a framework that we can report to the people of Jamaica how we will ensure a sustained stream of funding for healthcare so that we can both deliver efficiently and effectively healthcare services to the people of Jamaica.
Back in Kingston, the Prime Minister got first-hand view of the progress being made under the HOPE program. 100 HOPE participants are now receiving training at the Garmix Heart Academy. 80 are being trained in garment production while 20 are learning beading. Training started in June and the participants are expected to graduate later this month. At that time, trainees will commence production on 1,000 shirts to supply the HOPE program. And the Office of the Prime Minister is now the owner of a drone to cover official government events. The gift was delivered Thursday by the Caribbean Maritime University, which built the drone. Mr. Holness also received a doll dressed in the university's new uniform. And at Jamaica House Tuesday, Prime Minister Holness welcomed the new executives of the Medical Association of Jamaica. And that's how we close out Jamaica House Weekly. Join us again next time for more of the news coming out of the Office of the Prime Minister.
Let's celebrate Jamaica to the world. Fastest man in the world. First Jamaican woman to win gold in Olympic 100-meter sprint. An upcoming global superstar. Mouth-watering meals. And a vibrant set of people. We are Jamaicans. Let's get together and bring back the love.
We're celebrating a great heritage, a great legacy for this year's observance of Heritage Week. In today's offering, we highlight one of our national heroes who has laid a solid foundation upon which we continue to build this great nation.
In the early 1800s, the wealthy Scottish planter Joseph Gordon owned a large sugar estate in the parish of St. Andrew and lived in a beautiful Georgian great house on its grounds. In 1820, Joseph Gordon fathered a son with a slave woman. He was named George William Gordon. George William was not born a slave, although he was born before emancipation. He spent most of his childhood in the house set up by his father for his children born of this slave woman. From an early age, George William's father noticed his keen interest in books and encouraged him to study. The young Gordon was also a great orator and took part in religious debates at an early age. Gordon's commitment to religion never waned. He started an independent Baptist organization and erected a tabernacle in Kingston where he often preached. Gordon helped his followers to open chapels in many parts of the island and also ordained several deacons, including Paul Bogle of Stony Gut. In later years, this educated gentleman became a successful businessman. He concentrated on buying and leasing lands, which he cut up and sold or sublet cheaply to the Negro peasants, who at the time had great difficulty obtaining land. He also sold them livestock and organized a marketing system through which they could sell their produce at fair prices. Emancipation was not a welcome change for most of the planter class in Jamaica, and many tried by various means to hinder the progress of blacks. Gordon was a member of the wealthy middle class who did his best to help the free slaves. When he entered politics, he used this medium to speak out frequently about the unjust treatment of this group. By 1865, the social and economic crisis in Jamaica had reached a dangerous level. The harshness and insensitivity of the then Governor Edward Eyre did nothing to relieve the tension. Gordon was outraged by the conditions he saw. Although he wanted to see a change in the social and material conditions of the blacks, he never advocated violence as a means of achieving this change. As a member of the Jamaican Assembly, he spoke out on behalf of the poor Negroes and bitterly criticized Governor Eyre. It was therefore ironic that he was blamed for instigating and supporting the Morant Bay Rebellion in St. Thomas. Despite the lack of evidence, Governor Eyre issued a warrant for his arrest. On hearing this, George William Gordon gave himself up to the authorities and was quickly taken to Morant Bay, where he was illegally tried and sentenced to death. Gordon was hanged with 18 other persons on October 23, 1865. The residential area, now known as Cherry Gardens, is the former estate where George William Gordon was born.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
Eternal Father, bless our land, is our prayer each time we salute our nation. How did this powerful song come about? Find out in this next feature.
Eternal Father, bless our land. Was he listening, do you think, Eternal Father? Those were the words to replace God Save the Queen on August 6, 1962, but it almost never was. History says the begetting of a new anthem was filled with all the drama of any blockbuster production, real-life drama for the song that would sum up the hopes and aspirations of a new nation. It was June 21, 1962. Then Leader of the House, Donald Sangster, asked his fellow parliamentarians to give their opinions on the proposed anthem for independent Jamaica.
The search for a new national anthem for Jamaica began before the elections were held in April 1962, when the Premier, Norman Manley at the time, he established a joint parliamentary committee to look for national symbols, new national symbols. There was a competition launched for the national anthem, for ideas for the national anthem. A national competition launched, and I'm not sure how many entries were received, but I know that the top 12 entries were selected and then sent to the parliamentary committee, And they in turn selected the top four, the four most suitable ones that they thought would do the trick. Time was running out, however. April, May, June, a new government appointed in April, and independence rapidly approaching August 6, the date had been set. In June 21, Parliament returned, and on the agenda was the debate for the approval for the new national anthem.
A long and vigorous debate followed.
I could never listen to what I heard.
What we heard this afternoon is obviously something.
Is there any harm, for instance, in using one of Tom Red Con's?
Is our last chance? Then I'm prepared.
When this matter came before the House, members were asked to listen outside the lobby
by the band of both proposals put to us.
If anyone in that sitting of the Parliament was passionately in favor of the anthem as it was presented then, well, that person never got up to say so. Some forcefully rejected it.
I could never listen to what I heard this afternoon and call it a national anthem. It was not even sounding like a Sankey song.
Others were a little less harsh, but equally unimpressed.
What we heard this afternoon is obviously something which has been based on a hymn and certainly does not stir anything in me whatsoever.
The work of a patriotic poet might be the way to go, at least one suggested.
Is there any harm, for instance, in using one of Tom Red Con's beautiful songs on Jamaica?
A few were willing to accept it temporarily, seeing as August 6 loomed so near.
If this is our last chance, then I'm prepared to accept what we heard here tonight as our national anthem. Because when August 6 comes, I do not intend to stand for any other national anthem of this country.
The Premier had another suggestion.
I have a lovely piano at home, and I'm inviting all the members of this house. My veranda will hold everyone to come, and I will let them hear an anthem. I will have an anthem which you will all like.
Well, everybody knows that Buster Manty was a great host, and we can imagine the lavish party that took place at Tucker Avenue that night. They went and they played the different selections that they had before them of the national anthem. Buster did a lot of teasing, no doubt, but there was a great friendliness about the evening, and they sang the anthem. I believe Robert Lightburn was one of the people who played the piano for them. He was a musician. And at the end of it, they hadn't really selected an anthem, but they seemed to have got more comfortable and familiar with this first one that they had been looking at.
La la da dee, la la da dee da dam, dee la 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 la.
Someone summoned a parliamentary meeting, but an informal meeting on June 27, a week later, to look at another anthem which had was being discussed. Now, this anthem was written by Ted Wade, an Englishman, who was also the head of the Jamaica military band at the time. That one seized the imagination of this informal gathering of Parliament, and it was decided, therefore, that they would select that and proclaim it as a new national anthem. But that one didn't last too long because popular sentiment was against the idea that an Englishman had written our national anthem. The leader of the opposition, Norman Manley, also complained that the procedure which took the matter out of the formal runnings of the House and into an informal session was totally irregular and very unfortunate.
It's now July 19, and independence is less than 3 weeks away.
The House met again to review their decision.
Jamaica, Jamaica. And he tried to get the words of Father Sherlock to go with the music from Mr. Lightburn. They just could not meet, as they say. And so Mr. Poole went about composing his own tune to fit the words of Father Sherlock. Because it was submitted by Mr. Poole as a piano score, and that would not do to give any true meaning to what an anthem should sound like. So I took the piano score and I arranged the music for the full military band. basically an arrangement which is distributing the parts of the music to different instruments. And that's exactly what I did.
By this time, the parliamentarians had a chance to hear the competing anthems performed with equal skill by the Jamaica Military Band.
When this matter came before the House, members were asked to listen outside the lobby to a tape recording of a rather poor version of a musical setting and the words.
I think that having heard the rendition by the band of both proposals put to us, I feel that the one which is now proposed can bring out a greater amount of national emotion.
I do believe that the best has been selected.
So, divine providence, or democracy and procedural due diligence in action? Do we love it because it's our own, or did it become our own because we loved it? Maybe it's as Edward Seaga remarked at the time, the result in the final analysis of what has happened is exactly what should have happened.
Our national anthem has 20 bars of music. And the first 8 bars were composed by Mr. Poole. And the 4 bars following those 8 bars are the bars composed and taken from Mr. Lightburn's music. To our leaders, great defender, grant true wisdom from above. Blah da dee da blah da dee da dam, dee da 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 dam.
Justice, truth be ours forever. Jamaica, land we love. Jamaica, Jamaica.
And that's how we draw the curtains down on today's edition of Jamaica Magazine. Be sure to keep in touch with us. Email jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. Visit our website, jis.gov.jm, or join us on social media. There's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You may also find our app in the Google and Apple Play stores very useful, so be sure to download it today. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, be encouraged and empowered to join in our heritage celebrations. After all, we have a great heritage and a great legacy. I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.